October 14th, 1960. An elderly World War II veteran stood at a Memphis grocery store checkout, counting pennies and nickels, trying to afford a few basic items. Elvis Presley was in line behind him. What happened next showed the difference between celebrity and character. By October 1960, Elvis Presley was one of the most famous people in America. He'd just finished his army service and returned to civilian life. His movies were breaking box office records. His music dominated the charts. Everywhere he went, people recognized him, wanted autographs, wanted photographs, wanted a piece of him. But there was one place in Memphis where Elvis could be relatively normal, where people knew him but gave him space. A small neighborhood grocery store not far from Graceland that he'd been visiting since before he was famous. The staff knew him as the polite young man who always said please and thank you, who helped elderly customers reach items on high shelves, who never acted like he was too important to wait in line like everyone else. On this particular Friday evening, Elvis needed a few things for the weekend, nothing major, just some basics. He'd thrown on jeans and a simple shirt, no attempt to disguise himself, because in this store he didn't need to. The evening shift cashier, a woman named Dorothy who'd been working there for 15 years, had run up Elvis's groceries dozens of times. She'd nod hello, make small talk about the weather, treat him like any other regular customer. Elvis grabbed a basket and walked through the aisles, picking up milk, bread, some sandwich meat, a few other items. The store was quiet at this hour, just a handful of other shoppers. He noticed an elderly man moving slowly through the aisles with a single cane, his left pant leg pinned up where his leg ended below the knee. The man was wearing an old but clean button-up shirt, and on his chest was a small pin, the kind veterans wore. Elvis couldn't see the details from where he stood, but he recognized what it represented. Elvis continued his shopping, but he found himself noticing the old man in different aisles. The man would pick up an item, look at the price, put it back. Pick up something else, study it, sometimes put it in his basket, sometimes return it to the shelf. There was something methodical about it, careful, like every decision mattered. When Elvis finished his shopping and headed to the checkout, there was only one lane open. The elderly veteran was there, unloading his basket on the counter. Elvis got in line behind him and waited. Dorothy, the cashier, greeted the veteran warmly. "Evening, Mr. Peterson. How are you today?" "Can't complain, Dorothy," the old man said, though his voice had that weary quality that suggested he probably could complain if he chose to. "Body's not what it used to be, but I'm still here." "That's the spirit," Dorothy said, starting to ring up his items. Elvis watched as the items moved across the counter: a loaf of bread, a small container of milk, a can of soup, another can of soup, a package of butter, some eggs, the basics. Nothing extra, nothing for pleasure, just what a person needed to survive. When Dorothy finished scanning everything, she said, "That'll be $4.35, Mr. Peterson." The old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small change purse, the kind that snapped closed. He opened it and began counting coins. Pennies first, making small piles on the counter, then nickels, then dimes. His hands shook slightly as he counted. Whether from age or nervousness, Elvis couldn't tell. Dorothy waited patiently. She'd seen this before, Elvis realized. This wasn't the first time Mr. Peterson had paid for groceries in coins. The old man counted carefully, his lips moving as he added up the totals. $3.80, $3.90, $4. He kept counting, kept adding to the pile. $4.10, $4.15, $4.20. He stopped. He recounted. He checked his change purse, turning it inside out. Empty. "I'm 15 cents short," Mr. Peterson said quietly. "That's all right," Dorothy said kindly. "Don't worry about it." "No," the old man said firmly, a note of pride in his voice. "I don't take charity. I'll just put something back." He looked at his small pile of groceries, trying to decide what he could live without. His hand hovered over the eggs, then moved to one of the soup cans. "I don't need 2 cans. 1 will be enough." Elvis, standing behind him, had been taking all of this in. He'd seen the veteran pin on the man's chest. He'd seen the missing leg. He'd heard the pride in the man's voice when he said he didn't take charity, and he'd seen the resignation in the way Mr. Peterson reached for the soup can, accepting that he'd have less because that's what his limited resources required. Elvis reached forward and gently touched Dorothy's arm. When she looked at him, he shook his head slightly and mouthed, "I'll pay." Dorothy's eyes widened slightly, but she was professional enough not to make a scene. She gave Elvis a tiny nod. "Actually, Mr. Peterson," Dorothy said, "I just remembered we have a special on soup today. Buy one, get one free. So this one doesn't count." Mr. Peterson looked at her suspiciously. "Since when?" "Just started," Dorothy said smoothly. "So you've got 15 cents credit. You want to pick something else? Maybe some coffee? I know you like coffee." The old man's face showed confusion mixed with hope. "You sure about that sale?" "Positive," Dorothy said, looking him directly in the eye. Mr. Peterson's shoulders relaxed slightly. "Well, if there's a sale, I suppose I could use some coffee. Haven't had any in weeks." "You go get yourself some coffee. I'll wait right here." The old man made his way slowly back into the store, his cane tapping against the linoleum floor. The moment he was out of earshot, Elvis stepped forward. "How much for all of it, including coffee?" Elvis asked quietly. "With the coffee, probably around $5, Dorothy said. Elvis pulled out his wallet and handed her a $20 bill. "Ring up my stuff separate. Give him his groceries, and whatever change is left from the 20, tell him you miscalculated or the sale was better than you thought or whatever makes sense. And Dorothy, fill his basket. Whatever a man needs for a week of decent meals, add it to my bill." Dorothy looked at Elvis with tears forming in her eyes. "You're a good man, Elvis Presley." "He's the good man," Elvis said, nodding toward where Mr. Peterson was slowly making his way back with a small can of coffee. "He served our country. This is nothing compared to what he gave." Mr. Peterson returned with the coffee and placed it on the counter. Dorothy added it to the other items in the bag. "All right, Mr. Peterson, let me recalculate here," Dorothy said, making a show of adding things up. "With the soup sale and the coffee sale we're running, and I think I miscounted before, your total is actually $4.20, so you've got 15 cents coming back to you." She put 3 nickels in his hand. Mr. Peterson looked at the coins, then at his bag of groceries, then at Dorothy. "You sure you got that right?" "Absolutely sure," Dorothy firmly. "Well," Mr. Peterson said, still seeming uncertain but willing to accept this small piece of good fortune. "I appreciate it, Dorothy. You have yourself a good evening." "You too, Mr. Peterson. You take care now." The old man picked up his bag slowly and made his way toward the door. He was almost there when Elvis spoke up. "Excuse me, sir." Mr. Peterson turned around, noticing Elvis for the first time. His eyes widened slightly with recognition. Elvis walked over to him. "I couldn't help but notice your pin. You served in World War II?" "Yes, sir," Mr. Peterson said, standing a little straighter despite the cane. "European theater. Lost my leg at Normandy, but I made it home, which is more than a lot of men can say." "Thank you for your service," Elvis said, and there was something in the way he said it, the sincerity, the weight he gave those words that made them more than just a polite phrase. Mr. Peterson's eyes got shiny. "That's kind of you to say, son. I know who you are. My granddaughter has your records. She thinks you're something special." "I'm just a singer. You're a hero." "I'm not a hero," Mr. Peterson said, shaking his head. "I just did what needed doing. We all did." "That's exactly what makes you a hero," Elvis said. "Doing what needs doing even when it's hard, even when it costs you something." The old man looked down at his missing leg, then back at Elvis. "Cost a lot of us something, but we were fighting for something worth fighting for. And people like me get to live free because of people like you," Elvis said. "I was in the army recently, just finished my service. Nothing like what you went through, but it gave me an appreciation for what service means." "You served?" Mr. Peterson asked, surprised. "I didn't know that." Just got out a few months ago, Elvis said. 2 years in Germany. It was an honor to serve, even in a small way. Mr. Peterson smiled, a real smile that lit up his weather.